The lounge was filled with a soft yellow light. Along with the faint hum of the fan, a sense of seriousness prevailed in the atmosphere. The sofas were covered with white embroidered cloths, and on the glass table in the middle were placed glasses of water and cups of tea, but no one had touched them. The eyes of everyone present in the room were fixed on Mr. Harris, who, stroking his white beard with dignity, sat in front of Mr. Daniel. Sophia was sitting in a corner with her mother. Her hands were tightly clasped together, her eyes lowered, but her heartbeat was growing faster and faster. She could clearly feel that her heart was about to leap out. She did not know why her heart was caught in such a strange state. She was not feeling good. A strange uneasiness had taken over her existence. And as they say, when a person starts to feel something unusual, there is always a reason behind it. The voice of Mr. Harris echoed, heavy and intense. "Daniel, look. Today I have come to you with great hope. Our bond is not just brotherhood, but an example. People say that perhaps no one has ever seen companionship and love like ours. Despite living in separate homes, we never left each other alone, nor did we ever fight without reason. Rather, we always held each other's hands and stood together in moments of joy and in moments of sorrow." Mr. Daniel nodded, smiled, and said, "Brother, why do you request? You should command. For you, I am ready to sacrifice even my life. Why are you making me solve riddles? Whatever you want to say it without worry." Hearing this, Mr. Harris said in a calm tone, "No, Daniel, today I do not want your life. Today I want a piece of your heart, and for this you must have courage." For a moment, silence fell over the room. Sophia's heart began to beat even harder. She could not see any good coming her way. A strange fear rose in her eyes. The gaze of Mr. Harris settled directly on her. And then, in a tone full of affection, he said, "I have come to ask for your daughter Sophia's hand for my son. Ethan, I want our bond to grow even stronger. The daughter of your house should now become the daughter of our house. Who knows what kind of people there are outside? We do not know." "But I do know, Daniel. You have raised your daughter with such grace. I do not want any tyrant to snatch away our daughter's innocence. That is why today I sit before you, asking for a piece of your heart." A wave of joy spread across Mr. Daniel's face. His eyes sparkled as if the wish of years had finally come true. He was about to speak in an enthusiastic tone when suddenly Sophia rose from her place. Anger and sorrow were both reflected on her face, and tears shimmered in her eyes. The very thing she feared had happened. She had been running away from all this. She would even avoid the mere mention of Ethan's name. And today the proposal was being made to make her his bride. Her breath was caught. Crying, she said, "Grandfather." Her voice was trembling, but the words were as hard as stone. "How could you even think this? Me and Ethan, this is impossible. It would be better if I were hung on a cross. I will never ruin my life, no matter what happens. This is my final decision. Every girl has the right to marry the person of her choice. And my choice is not Ethan. I will never at any cost become his bride. Remove this thought from your minds." She spoke in a firm tone. She did not find it appropriate to twist her words. The whole room fell silent, as if stunned. No one had expected Sophia to raise her voice like this in front of everyone. Mr. Daniel's face lost its color. He sat upright on the chair and shouted loudly, "Sophia, speak with respect." Sophia turned her eyes toward her mother. Her father's voice made no difference to her. Looking at her mother, she said, "Mama, you tell them. You know I would never want this, and I will never let this happen. Take my life if you must, but do not even think about me for Ethan." Mrs. Minish immediately spoke in a panicked voice. "Sophia, be quiet. These are decisions of the elders. Children do not interfere in them. Go to your room now. There is no need to speak further." Her anger had reached the seventh sky. But instead of stepping back, Sophia replied in a firm voice, "No, Mama." "Why should I be quiet? This is my life. I have the right to decide." She was not ready to retreat today. To marry that man would mean tying a noose around her own neck, and she did not have the strength to live while dying inside. The atmosphere in the room grew even more tense. Sweat appeared on Mr. Harris's forehead, while Mr. Daniel's face turned red with rage. In a harsh voice, he said, "Lower your voice, Sophia. Your tongue has become too sharp. You are not listening to your mother. Go to your room right now." If it were up to him, he would have ended his daughter's life right then and there, for she was disgracing him in front of his own brother. Tears flowed from Sophia's eyes. In a choked voice, she said, "Father, why don't you ask me? Why do you ignore my wishes? I am a human being. After marriage, I am the one who has to live the life. My choice matters more. Before she could say more, Mr. Daniel roared, "Enough! I have listened to your nonsense long enough. You have said too much already. Not another word, or no one will be worse than me. I will put aside all restraint and deal with you properly." He raised his hand and spoke harshly. Sophia's lips trembled. She cast one look around, her grandfather's stern gaze, her mother's helplessness, and her father's harsh attitude. Her heart was shattered. Her steps were shaky, but wiping her tears, she quickly left the lounge. After she left, a heavy silence fell over the room. The heavy breaths of Mr. Daniel could be heard, and questions glimmered in Mr. Harris's eyes. "This girl," Mr. Daniel muttered. "She must be taught some sense. She is acting foolishly." Bish Begum bowed her head quietly. The sound of Sophia's footsteps faded away from the lounge door, and deep silence spread across the room. Every heart was filled with its own storm of thoughts. Mr. Harris leaned back against the chair, took a deep breath, and said, "What is the matter with her?" Ethan has never once treated her harshly. He has always acted kindly, like an elder. Then what is this refusal? And remember, this desire comes from Ethan himself, that he wants Sophia as his life partner. Then what is the reason for this stubbornness? He spoke in confusion. He had never seen Sophia speak with such anger before. He only knew her for her innocent words. But today, seeing this side of her left him astonished. Mr. Daniel wiped his forehead and, in a tone full of embarrassment, said, "Brother, I apologize. This is how today's youngsters have become. They no longer know respect for elders. A slight disagreement, and they immediately begin to argue. I myself am shocked. Sophia has never acted so foolishly before. I don't know what happened to her today. Surely her friends must have filled her head with nonsense." He strengthened his tone to cover the situation, though the shame he felt at that moment knew no bounds. For a few moments he remained silent. Then, looking at his brother with patience, he said, "But you rest assured. I give you my word that my daughter will marry your son, Ethan. I have not a shred of objection to this marriage. In fact, to tell you the truth, I always wanted to give Sophia's hand to Ethan. But as her father, I never found the courage to speak. Today you have spoken the very words of my heart. A son-in-law like Ethan is every parent's wish, and I am certain my Sophia will never disappoint you. She will always bring you happiness." Minesh Begum, quickly supporting her husband, added, "Yes, Mr. Harris, this is your great kindness. We agree wholeheartedly. She is still immature, merely 19 years old. She says whatever comes into her mind without thinking. You need not worry. I will explain it to her myself. From now on, she will never speak like this in front of you again. In fact, she will apologize for her behavior." Alina Begum, who had remained silent until now, spoke in a tone full of confidence. "Binish, think for yourself. My son is 1 in a million. No one has ever pointed a finger at him. He has honor, education, everything granted by God. And besides, we belong to the same family. There is no strangeness here. I came here today with great hope that we would not leave disappointed. Ethan himself has said that he wants only Sophia. As his mother, I wish for his desire to be fulfilled. Keep everything under control, because later I do not want any unpleasantness. Everyone knows Ethan is a man of his word. If at the last moment your daughter goes back on her word, it will bring great disgrace upon us. And as far as I know Ethan, he will react very harshly to such disgrace." For a moment, Mr. Daniel felt nervous but remained silent. After a brief pause, Alina Begum continued, "My wish is that this very month Sophia be married and taken to her new home. We do not want any dowry. God has given us everything. All we want is Sophia. And who attends a wedding anyway? It will only be our own people. Since we are of the same family, everything will be simple. There is no need for worry. If we send even a single invitation card within the family, it will be enough. We will divide the tasks among ourselves." Mr. Harris raised his hand with seriousness to stop them. "But Daniel, listen carefully. Make sure you ask your daughter properly. I do not want any kind of scene later. If tomorrow she insists on something else, the disgrace will fall on the whole family. And the entire family knows what kind of brothers Harris and Daniel are. If children cause a rift between us, I will never accept that. If Sophia refuses, then you must tell me, because I do not believe in force. It is their lives they must live. We cannot destroy them by compulsion. Today's times are not like the old days when parents tied their children in marriage, and they remained bound for life. Times have changed. If they are forced, they will step back at the last moment. and then only the family is left with disgrace, which I do not want." Mr. Daniel immediately sat upright and said, "No, no, brother, nothing like that will happen. What you have said is now carved in stone. No matter what Sophia says, I will make her understand. My daughter is very innocent. She is like soft clay, and she can be molded however we wish, so do not worry. Consider this marriage settled. Now please have something sweet. This marriage will be full of blessings." Binish Begum also bowed her head and said, "Yes, we all agree. You will never have any complaint from us. As for Sophia, I will handle her." Satisfaction and joy appeared on Alina Begum's face. She took out a box of sweets she had brought with her. Mr. Harris smiled faintly, picked up a piece, and began distributing it among everyone. For the moment, peace returned to the room, but Sophia's words were still echoing in everyone's ears. Despite the heavy silence in the air, a light wave of happiness ran through the room. Everyone had decided in that moment to dismiss Sophia's protest as nothing but temporary stubbornness. Yet, in the corner of the room, the flickering lamp's glow seemed to be asking, was this really just stubbornness of the moment? Or would this decision give birth to a storm in the days to come? It was already 10 o'clock at night. Silence had spread throughout the house. Only the ticking sound of the clock's hands could be heard here and there. Mrs. Alina slowly climbed the stairs and moved toward her son's room. The door was slightly open. The faint glow of the laptop was seeping into the room from inside. As soon as she stepped in, she saw her son, Ethan, sitting on a chair, sleeves of his white shirt rolled up, bent over his laptop, completely engrossed. There was such charm and authority in his personality that it was hard to take one's eyes off him. At just 30 years of age, he had already achieved a successful position in the business world, and there was no other young man like him in the entire family. Every household wished for Ethan to become their son-in-law, but he had chosen his uncle's house for himself. Mrs. Alina smiled, walked closer to him, and sat down on the bed. Ethan lifted his head for a moment to glance at his mother. Then his fingers began running over the keyboard again. "What happened, Mom?" He spoke in a short and calm tone. "What was the response?" His style carried such certainty that refusal didn't even seem possible. There was a strange confidence in his voice, as if he already knew there could be no rejection. Mrs. Alina, with a mixture of annoyance and sarcasm on her face, said, "What could have happened? Who in their right mind could refuse you?" Hearing her words, a smile spread across his face, as though he was certain the decision had gone in his favor. She continued, "Your uncle and aunt were overjoyed the moment they heard. They couldn't contain their happiness and wished to send their daughter with us right away. Your uncle even said it had been his lifelong dream to entrust his daughter to you. But then she paused for a moment and said bitterly, 'That girl created a huge scene. Honestly, I regret that you chose such a stubborn girl. She's so small, yet her tongue burns like fire. I could have brought many better girls before you. For you, no one would ever say no. Any girl you point at would instantly be yours. So why this girl?" Ethan closed the laptop and, looking straight at his mother with a calm yet firm tone, said, "The girl I have chosen is the one I want, and you will get her for me. I knew Sophia would create difficulties, that she would resist, but I know how to handle her. You just make sure the marriage arrangements are settled properly. I don't want to hear any complaints. And listen carefully. I want the marriage and the departure to happen this very month." Mrs. Alina immediately nodded with reassurance. Yes, don't worry. Your father has already settled everything. Your aunt has assured us that Sophia won't create any more scenes. And even if, God forbid, she tries to, then you can handle her your way. Just a couple of slaps and she'll be fine. But I am disappointed. She behaved very rudely. My heart still fears she might create a scene at the last moment. She's young, and so is her sense. If she makes the mistake of running away, our whole family will be disgraced for no reason, and everyone will cut ties with her. She was an experienced woman. Because of her wisdom, she had brought her husband and son to this place of success. Ethan's face hardened. He sat up straight and said firmly, "No. Mom, remember this. There will be no slapping or harshness of any kind. She is my choice, and I want her to be treated like a flower. If she is stubborn, I know how to tame that stubbornness. But no one will raise a hand at her or scold her. Make sure this is clearly conveyed over there. There's no need to force her into agreement. If she refuses, I will convince her in my own way. but no one will touch her. Mrs. Alina carelessly waved her hand and replied, "Yes, yes, keep her however you like. I don't object. But one thing, I want this wedding done quickly, so there aren't too many rumors spreading. Because the way your bride-to-be is rebelling, it won't be long before the whole family hears about it like wildfire." A faint smile appeared on Ethan's face as he lowered his gaze and softly said, "All right, Mom, as you wish. But Sophia has to become mine, and for that, I can go to any extent." Mrs. Alina placed her hand on her son's shoulder with a smile. "Congratulations! Your engagement is confirmed." For a moment, peace spread in the room. On the dim laptop screen, Ethan's reflection was visible. The reflection of a successful, determined and stubborn young man who wasn't ready to let anything stand in the way of his desire. The afternoon sunlight filtered through the curtains, casting the room into half light and half shadow. Sophia sat curled up on the bed, her face buried in the pillow, words continuously escaping from her lips. "I will never marry. No matter what happens, it's better to die than to marry that Hitler-like man. What did they even think to hand me over to him? Was I chosen? I am 19 years old and he is 30 years old. Can't they see this difference? Oh God, have mercy on me." Her eyes were red. The moisture of the skies was gathered on her eyelashes. After a while, suddenly the door of the room opened loudly. Mr. Daniel and Vinish Begum entered inside. The atmosphere suddenly became heavy with their presence. Sophia didn't even glance and immediately turned her face to the other side. She knew they would surely come, but she had not expected them so soon. Mr. Daniel's voice, filled with anger, echoed in the room. "What drama did you create last night, Sophia? I want an explanation for this misbehavior." He moved forward towards her. "The amount of embarrassment you have caused me in front of my brother, I cannot even express in words. Is this how I raised you? What do you want? Today, tell me clearly. Neither did you achieve anything in studies, nor did you make a name in sports, nor did you excel in any other skill. Then what am I supposed to do with you? I only had to make you worthy of marriage so that you could go to your own home, and that I have already done. So without any excuses, say yes to the marriage quietly, because if I lose my temper, it will create a very big problem for you." He paused for a moment and then continued even more harshly. "Till now you never achieved first position. Always remained at the back, and yet your attitude is as if you were the topper of the university. Today I want to make you realize your real worth. The world of fantasy is only good in books and imaginations. It has nothing to do with reality." Sophia glared at him with tears in her eyes. Her voice was trembling, but the words came out strong. "So you will judge your own daughter like this? Dad, I don't want to marry him. What has happened to you? I'm only 19 years old and he is 30 years old. Can't you see this difference? Why have you become so blind? Indeed, Uncle Johnny is very nice, and Auntie too, but I cannot marry a man like him. This matter is final now." Mr. Daniel's face turned even redder. He slammed his hand on the arm of the chair and spoke sternly. "You can see his age, but can't you see his bank balance? What I could not earn at this age, he has earned 3 times more at the age of 30, and this is just the beginning. He is managing his father's company and building his own. A girl like you will have every luxury of the world. Then what is this arrogance about?" His voice carried a tone of pride. "Every girl in the family craves even a glance from him, and he wants you. Why doesn't this stubbornness, this arrogance leave your heart?" Sophia broke down crying in pain. With tears streaming from her eyes, she screamed, "I'm very scared of him. Dad, I cannot live with him. He scolds over small things. Always imposes restrictions. Don't do this. Don't go there. Don't meet that friend. How will I spend my whole life imprisoned like this? I want freedom." Mr. Daniel's patience shattered. He stepped forward, raised his finger, and said, "Remember, if you do not marry Ethan or create any kind of drama at the time of Nika, then I swear to God our life and death relationship will end forever." His words struck the room like stones. He spoke further in a threatening tone. "I will break all ties with you. I will send you away to a hostel, rot there your whole life. Then find your own boy, marry him, or even die. I will have nothing to do with you." Saying this, he turned angrily and left the room with heavy steps. The door shut loudly, and now only Sophia and Bish Begum were left inside. Bish Begum sighed. She looked at Sophia with eyes full of sorrow. "My child, this is all for your own good. Saying just this, she too slowly left the room. With their departure, Sophia's heart completely broke. She buried her face in the pillow and cried uncontrollably. Her sobs echoed in the silence of the room. In front of her eyes was a blurred picture of the future, a path on which she was being forced to walk, but her heart was rebelling at every step. A few hours later, the silence of night spread across every corner of the house. Everyone else had gone to their rooms. But in Sophia's room, the restlessness was overwhelming. She kept walking back and forth, then sat down, then stood up again. There was a strange weight in her heart. After her father's threats, it was as if her courage had shattered. In the evening, her mother came into the room and softly told her that the Nika and Ruksati would take place at the end of this month. Your father has made this decision. Hearing this news, the ground beneath Sophia's feet slipped away. Her mind was tangled. Her heart clenched as if someone had gripped it tightly in their fist. She quickly grabbed her phone and pressed on one. Name, Ali, the closest friend with whom she shared every sorrow. On the very first ring, the call was received. Before Aliza could say anything, Sophia, already crying, blurted out, "Where are you? I've been calling you since noon, but you didn't answer." Aliza's surprised voice came. "Hey, today my sister's in-laws came over. I was busy with them. Anyway, what happened?" "Why are you crying?" Between sobs, Sophia said, My marriage has been fixed with that Hitler. I don't know what to do, Elise. I don't want to marry him. I can't stand that man even for a second." Aliza, trying to calm her, replied, "Whoa, girl, hit the brakes. You're just talking like a car speeding down the road. Which boy? With whom is the marriage fixed? And who is this Hitler?" In a mix of anger and tears, Sophia said, "Oh, come on. There's only one Hitler in our family. You know it very well, my cousin Ethan." The words slipped out of Aliza's lips in surprise. Wait, the dashing businessman? The same Ethan who launched his own company, who everyone praises for his brilliance, and who has achieved so much success so young. Girl, people say he's amazing. How did he suddenly become Hitler? You're lucky to get such a great proposal. Sophia shook her head helplessly and shouted, "No! I don't want to marry that Hitler." "Elise, you don't understand. He scares me. He scolds all the time. He interferes constantly. He controls every little thing. I feel like I'll be imprisoned with him. That's why I've decided—" She stopped for a moment, then declared like a verdict, "I'll run away from the parlor. On the wedding day, everyone will realize what happens when you force a girl into marriage." Aliza's tone suddenly turned firm. "Are you out of your mind? What nonsense are you talking? I will never support you in this madness. In fact, if you even think about it, I'll tell your father straight away what you're planning." Tears streamed down Sophia's cheeks. Bitterly, she said, "I don't care. Tell whoever you want. But remember, if you don't support me, I'll end our friendship. I'll run away from the parlor no matter what." Aliza's voice was full of panic and pleading. "Sophia, please come to your senses. Such decisions destroy lives. You can't even imagine what kind of storm will come afterward." But Sophia ignored her words. Her sobs and stubbornness collided inside her. Quickly, she said, "Just answer me yes or no. Will you support me or not?" Before Aliza could reply, Sophia cut the call. She threw the phone on the bed and collapsed onto the floor, crying her heart out. A new calamity had entered her life. Her sobs echoed in the silence of the room, while the night breeze from the window bore witness to her rebellion and helplessness. Time has never stopped, nor can it ever. The afternoon sun filtered through the curtains, scattering golden beams on the floor. Sophia sat on her bed, drowning in confusion, her heart sinking like a heavy stone plunging into water. Just moments ago, a maid had quietly delivered a message. "Madam, your mother is asking you to come to the drawing room right away. Some guests have arrived." Sophia stared blankly at the maid's words, but turmoil erupted in her chest. Her feet felt lifeless, yet her heart whispered that something unexpected was about to happen. As soon as she entered the drawing room, the sight before her made her breath catch. Sitting there, dressed in a crisp white shirt, legs crossed, was Ethan. His calm yet stern gaze seized Sophia's being in a heartbeat. She turned to leave, thinking escape was her only option. But at that very moment, Ethan stood up. His voice was deep and commanding. "Stop, we need to talk." Sophia froze in place, trembling. Her heartbeat raced. Ethan slowly advanced toward her. The distance between them shrank, as though even the walls were holding their breath. "Why are you rejecting my proposal?" Ethan asked, locking eyes with her. Sophia faltered and lowered her gaze. Her lips trembled. I want to go back to my room. Ethan grabbed her wrist firmly, his grip unyielding. Looking straight at her, he demanded, "Answer my question first. On what grounds are you rejecting me? Give me a reason. Otherwise, I won't let you leave." Tears welled up at the edge of Sophia's eyes, her heart trembling. "You're always angry. You scold all the time, you interfere. I don't want to marry you." Ethan's gaze grew sharper. "All of this is for your protection. Give me a valid reason." Sophia lowered her head, her words breaking apart. "Your height is too much compared to mine. You're older than me, too." A cold smile touched Ethan's lips. "That's no reason." Hesitantly, Sophia whispered, "I just don't like you. Your anger, your harshness, everything about you frightens me." Ethan moved closer, his tone deep but controlled. "From now on, I won't be angry. Now give me another reason." Sophia's strength failed, her tears flowing freely. "I just don't like you. I don't want to marry you." Suddenly, Ethan grabbed both her hands and pinned her against the wall. His eyes blazed like fire. "Stop this nonsense, Sophia. Didn't your father explain to you? Then let me make it clear. My eyes are on you 24/7. If you dare to pull any stunt, remember this, not just you, but your parents will suffer the consequences too." Terrified, Sophia looked up at him, tears streaming down her face. Ethan's tone turned even more cutting. "This house belongs to my father. Your father only owns 25% shares. If I wish, I can take even that away. In an instant, I can make them homeless. Think carefully before you act. Enjoy the wedding. Dream about your new life ahead. Understood? Drop this useless stubbornness." Rolling up his shirt sleeve, he walked out of the drawing room. Sophia's whole being was trembling. Her legs could no longer carry her. Tears burst forth uncontrollably, streaming down her cheeks. She ran toward her room, shut the door, and collapsed onto the bed. The room filled with the sound of her sobs. Outside, daylight still shone brightly, but inside her heart, a deep darkness had fallen. Time was slowly passing. Wedding preparations were in full swing. After meeting Ethan, she had raised no objections. She had simply gone silent. Days had slipped by, and now the wedding day had arrived. The room was bathed in white lights. A crimson carpet was spread across the floor. And Sophia, dressed as a bride, sat weeping over her fate. The sparkle of her attire stood in stark contrast to the tears streaming down her face. The bridal dress was heavy, but the burden on her heart was far heavier. With each passing moment, her heartbeat quickened, as though the door of a prison was about to slam shut. Moments later, the soft creak of the door startled her. She couldn't even lift her head when her mother, Mrs. Alina, entered, followed by Mr. Daniel, Mr. Harris, the cleric, and a few witnesses. The atmosphere in the room grew solemn. Sophia's heart leapt into her throat. The cleric, in a formal tone, looked toward Mr. Daniel and said, "Do you give permission for your daughter, Sophia Daniel, to be wed to Ethan Shaw, son of Mr. Harris?" Mr. Daniel took a deep breath, looked at his daughter, and, holding back his emotions, replied, "Yes, I give my permission." Those words pierced Sophia's heart like a knife. Another tear slipped from her eye and fell onto her dupatta. The cleric then turned toward Sophia. His gentle voice echoed in the room. "Sophia Daniel, do you accept this marriage with Ethan Shaw, son of Mr. Harris?" Her lips trembled. Closing her eyes, she tried to steel her heart, but the words stuck in her throat. After a few seconds of silence, her sobs broke through, and she whispered, "I accept." The cleric repeated the question. His gaze lingered on her, as though trying to understand the weight on her heart, clenching her fists tightly. She answered in a trembling voice once again, "I accept." For the third time, the cleric asked. The dam of her restraint finally gave way. Her face quivered like a fragile leaf in the wind. But through her tears, she said once more, "I accept." The room filled with murmurs of congratulations. Mrs. Alina stepped forward and placed her hand on Sophia's head, but Sophia covered her face with both hands. Her dupatta was already soaked in tears. Mr. Harris cast a satisfied glance around before walking out. Mr. Daniel lingered for a moment, looked at his daughter, and left the room with a heavy heart. The cleric and witnesses departed as well. Now only Sophia and the silent walls remained. She was a bride, yet her heart was imprisoned. Her tears continued to fall to the floor. as though she were mourning her own happiness. The room felt overwhelmingly empty. Even the walls seemed to echo her sobs. The wedding ritual was complete, but inside her, the fire of protest still burned. It felt as though her life had been signed away to someone else without her consent. She was a bride, but one made by force, not by choice. After some rituals and dinner, the send-off took place. She now sat in her husband's room. The air was filled with the fragrance of flowers. The bed, decorated with rose petals, awaited her presence. Dressed as a bride, Sophia sat there, but her heart was utterly desolate. Beneath the heavy lehenga, the trembling of her being was evident. Her eyes still glistened with tears, and her heart felt as though it had descended into an unknown, dark valley. From outside came the sound of approaching footsteps. The door creaked open, and Ethan entered. A shadow of confidence played across his face, sternness in his eyes, yet also a strange composure. Startled, Sophia quickly adjusted her dupatta and rose to her feet. In a trembling voice, she said, "There is no need for you to come near me. You cannot sleep in this room. Please leave." Ethan looked at her for a moment, then replied in a flat tone, "Stop this nonsense and childish behavior in front of me. Understand? Sit down properly. I will give you your wedding gift and speak with you." Tears streamed down her face. Between sobs, she cried, "I don't want to talk to a man like you." "I have no intention of sitting here. Leave this room, or I will make noise." Impatience flickered across Ethan's face. In a heavy tone, he said, "Have you lost your mind? What kind of behavior is this? Tonight is our wedding night, and you're doing all this? If we don't consummate our marriage, then there will be no reception tomorrow. Don't you understand? You're my wife now. Your childishness is over. Your practical life has begun." Sophia wiped her tears with the edge of her dupatta, but her voice still shook as she answered, "I don't believe a word you say. I don't accept anything from you. Leave this room. I don't want to talk. I am not happy in this marriage. Will you go, or shall I scream right now?" Ethan took a step toward her, but stopped abruptly. His eyes hardened, and his tone carried a clear threat. "You will pay heavily for this behavior, Sophia. Do you think I'll give in? Just wait and see what I'll do tomorrow. You'll come to me yourself, begging for forgiveness. That's decided now." With that, he turned sharply, flung open the door, and stormed out. The slam of the door deepened the silence in the room. As he left, Sophia collapsed to the floor. Her tears would not stop. The bridal bed, the fragrance of flowers, the glow of the lights all seemed meaningless. The room echoed with her silent screams. Covering her face with her hands, she wept bitterly. She started crying, as if all the burden of her heart was being released through her eyes. She was a bride, but not of happiness, a bride of a forced marriage. The only burden on her existence was that relationship which, the more she wanted to reject, the more it kept tightening around her. The afternoon sunlight entered through the windows of the room, scattering across the sofa. Outside in the city, gentle gusts of wind were swaying the branches of the trees. A few moments later, Ethan pushed open his mother's door and entered the room. The echo of his footsteps and the burning rage in his eyes were making everything tremble. He walked straight up to his mother and in an uncontrollable tone said, "I have canceled the reception. I've already canceled the hall as well. There is no need to prepare anything. Tell all the guests who are going to come that they are not invited. There will be no reception tomorrow." Mrs. Alina, who was sitting in the corner of the room reciting her rosary beads, suddenly froze. She stood up nervously and began looking at her son with sharp eyes. "What are you saying, Ethan? Why are you firing bullets like this as soon as you walk in? What happened? Sit down and talk. This is not how a reception is canceled. We have an honor in our community. Invitations have already been sent. Cards have been distributed. Don't act like a child." Ethan stepped forward. The redness of his face and the harshness in his tone were destroying the peace of the room. "Mom, what I said is final. There will be no reception. And if you want the reception to happen, then first go and explain to your daughter-in-law. Tell her that a husband also has some rights which are obligatory upon the wife. If she behaves like this, then I will have to take such steps." Worry and anger mixed across Mrs. Alina's face. Trying to calm her son with a soft gesture, she said, "What nonsense are you talking about? It hasn't even been one full day since the wedding. The girl has just come. It takes time to understand. And you are already making such decisions? Have some patience. Lower your anger." But the firmness in Ethan's tone only increased. Mom, you don't know what she's saying. She isn't even willing to sit near me, let alone talk. She clearly says that she doesn't accept this relationship. Now you tell me, when the bond itself hasn't been formed, then what's the reception for? What are we going to show people? I can't make a mockery of myself. Mrs. Alina took a deep breath. Pain and worry covered her face. Son, these things are solved with patience and understanding, not threats. Wives cry, they get scared. With time, everything settles. But if you make decisions in anger like this, the matter will only get worse. And don't forget, this was your own choice. Grinding his teeth, Ethan said, Mom, I'm telling you for the last time. You go and make her realize what mistake she has made. If you explain it properly, that will be better. Otherwise, if I explain it, then you all will regret it. Saying this, he turned, pushed the door open, and stormed out. As the door slammed shut with a loud bang, silence spread across the room. Mrs. Alina stood frozen for a few moments, then slowly sat down on the sofa. Her heart felt as if it had stopped beating inside her chest. She held her head with both hands. Before her eyes, the anger of her son and the tearful face of her daughter-in-law kept circling. This new relationship, which should have been decorated with happiness, was beginning to be chained from the very first day. A few hours later, the door on the other side of the house opened softly after a gentle knock. The mild afternoon light filtered through the curtains and spread inside. She was sitting silently on the corner of the bed, her eyes fixed on the floor. Hearing the knock, she quickly stood up. Seeing Mrs. Alina, the color of her face turned even paler. Mrs. Alina walked forward slowly but heavily. Sternness was clear on her face, and anger was shining in her eyes. As soon as she came closer, she grabbed Sophia's hand and said in a harsh tone, "Sit down. I need to talk to you." She nervously replied quickly, "I was just coming downstairs." Actually, but Mrs. Alina cut her off. Her voice carried the weight of command. "I said sit down. I need to talk to you." Sophia's steps felt heavy. She slowly sat back on the bed, joined both hands in her lap, and lowered her eyes. Her inner nervousness was clearly visible. Mrs. Alina studied her face carefully. Then, in a serious tone, she said, "Look, girl, you are married now, so learn to live with it. As long as you were in your mother's house, I never said anything. I never asked any questions. But now you are my daughter-in-law, and I don't want any kind of drama here." She remained silent. She didn't even have the courage to move her lips. Mrs. Alina leaned forward and said in an even, stricter tone, "Just now, your husband came into my room filled with rage and complained about your behavior. He said that last night you didn't let him come near you. You didn't give him his marital rights. Who do you think you are to make such a mockery? This is not a game or entertainment." Sophia's heart began to pound heavily. She spoke softly, her voice trembling. "Elder mother, I was scared of him." But Mrs. Alina instantly pulled her hand away and cut her off. Now anger was clear on her face. "Don't waste my time with such nonsense. Were you getting married or playing a game? It is because of your cowardly act that he became so angry and canceled the reception. Think, how will we answer in front of the whole community? People will laugh that the groom rejected his bride on the very first night. Has a reception ever been canceled before?" Her eyes began to fill with tears, but she remained silent. Mrs. Alina took 2 steps back, folded her hands across her chest, and said in a stern tone, "Remember, if you do not give your husband his marital rights tonight as well, he will leave you in a moment. You will spend your whole life with the stain of divorce on your forehead. People will talk. Relatives will point fingers. And at that time, no one will be there to support you. I will no longer tolerate any drama. Handle your matters yourself. Tomorrow, at any cost, the reception must take place." Saying this, Mrs. Alina turned, opened the door, and walked out with quick steps. The sound of the door closing brought silence into the room. She could no longer control her tears. Covering her face with both hands, she broke down crying. The panic of her heart poured out with the tears. Her entire being was trembling. The words of Mrs. Alina echoed in her mind. The stain of divorce. "Drama, handle your matters yourself." The atmosphere of the room was filled with her sobs. Moment after moment, she kept thinking where she had gotten trapped. Between fear, helplessness, and shame, she shrank into silence with a heavy heart. She felt as if her room had turned into the prison of walls, where even her sobs were not supporting her. The room's atmosphere was soaked with the faint light of the moon. Behind the curtains, the last rays of the sun cast a golden glow into the room. Ethan entered slowly, step by step, and his eyes immediately fell on Sophia. She was sitting gracefully on the sofa. The red bridal dress enveloped her delicate frame, and her trembling lashes bore witness to her helplessness. For a moment, softness appeared in Ethan's eyes. But in the next moment, with the storm inside him, he advanced toward her. When Sophia felt his presence, she quickly turned, pouted, and said, "By complaining about me, what did you gain?" Ethan sat down right next to her, a faint, mocking smile playing on his lips. "It gave me a lot of peace," he said in a low voice. Then, watching her sit stiffly, he added with a meaningful smile, "Ah, I understand. I am ready, if you are willing to give me my right." Saying this, he began unbuttoning his shirt. Sophia's eyes widened in fear. She quickly stood, turned toward the wall, and covered her face with both hands. "How shameless you are," she stammered. "Put your clothes back on." Ethan's tone immediately hardened. His eyes flashed like lightning. "Don't act like an innocent child in front of me, Sophia. Understand? I already told my mother that until I take my right from you, there will be no reception." A shiver ran through Sophia's body. Her heartbeat was out of control. She stayed silent for a few moments, then somehow gathered courage, moved closer to him, wrapped her arms around his neck, and pleaded, "For God's sake, please hold the reception first. Then I will agree to everything." Her voice trembled, but her words carried humility and helplessness. "Ethan, please listen to me." But she had no idea that her gesture would ignite the feelings buried in Ethan's heart. For a moment, he became serious. Then suddenly, he wrapped his arm around Sophia's waist and pulled her close. "In the eyes of my parents, we are part of this community, Sophia. According to them, the reception cannot be canceled, and the reception will only be proper when I have taken my right from you." Sophia struggled to free herself from his grip. Tears streamed down her eyes. Her voice broke. "Yes, I am your wife, but I also have a heart. I have fear. You cannot force me." Ethan stared at her tears. Instead of softening, his anger only grew. "Don't play these dramas with me. You know what you need to do. Otherwise, remember this. Tomorrow there will be no reception, and you will not be able to live in this house with dignity." Suddenly, he stepped closer, lifted her into his arms in one swift move. She panicked and struggled. With both hands, she tried to push his shoulders back. "Put me down!" she cried, her trembling lips barely managing the words. But his grip only tightened. He laid her gently on the bed and leaned down to look at her face. Even in the wetness of her tears, there was a strange glow. He couldn't tear his eyes away. For a moment he paused, as though caught in his own conflict. Was this stubbornness or love? Sophia placed both hands on his chest to stop him. But the next moment he leaned down. The softness of his lips brushed against hers. Suddenly her breath tangled as if the air had stopped. "You?" she tried to say in broken words, but the sentence never finished. He had already merged the intensity of his heartbeat with hers. His breath mingled with Sophia's breath. The warmth of his lips sent a shiver through her being. She kept resisting with her hands, but slowly her resistance weakened. Tears in her eyes, fear in her heart, and silent prayers on her lips. But as his grip deepened, Sophia's lashes grew heavy. She had lost. Finally, she let her hands fall weakly, as though giving up resistance was her last refuge. And in that moment, the distance between them disappeared. Against her will, she was forced to surrender. The next day, the room was filled with the soft light of the afternoon. The curtains were half drawn, and outside, the sun spread its gentle rays. As soon as he entered, Ethan's eyes rested on the sofa. She was sitting there sadly, lost in thought. The faint swelling under her eyes and the weariness on her face touched his heart. Quietly, he walked toward her and said softly, "Mom says she has already sent for you twice for the salon. Why didn't you come downstairs? There's a function tonight. You'll need to go to get ready." His voice was gentle, though tinged with fear. She shook her head and said slowly, "No, I don't feel like it. I'm very tired." He paused for a moment, then sat down next to her. With a slight smile on his lips, he said, "What made you so tired? I didn't even trouble you much last night." Startled, she looked at him, as if in disbelief that she was hearing such words from him. He moved closer, took her hand in his, and looking into her eyes said, "I know you're upset with me, but how long will you stay angry? Lowering her head, she spoke in a soft voice. "You took advantage of me without my permission yesterday." For a moment, he fell silent. Then quietly he said, "You came close to me yourself. You put your arms around my neck yourself. Don't forget that." She cried out, "I only did that to convince you not to cancel the reception." Holding her face gently in both his hands, he said softly, "The reception happens for this very reason, that husband and wife come close. It's in this joy that the reception is held. We are arranging such a big function. So many people will come, the whole community will gather. And we should waste this reception just like that? Not celebrate the very joy the reception is meant for?" She fell silent. Her lashes lowered. Questions crowded her heart, but her tongue was tied. Taking her hands into his, he said gently, "I know you don't like me because I used to scold you, because I was strict. But now I promise nothing like that will ever happen again. I always did that to protect you so you could be strong. But perhaps it hurt your heart." He paused for a moment, then with a racing heart said, "I love you very much. You are so young, yet you hold the highest place in my heart. When you were born, and I held you in my arms for the first time, that very day I made up my mind that I would make you my bride. And today, when you have become mine, you cannot imagine how happy I am." She listened in silence and astonishment. Slowly, tears began to flow down her cheeks. In a trembling voice, she said, You are telling the truth? You really love me? You won't be harsh with me?" At once, he wiped her tears with his fingers and said quickly, "Never. I will never make you cry again. I will only give you happiness. Only love. That is my promise." For a few moments, she remained silent. Then slowly, she raised her eyes to him. It was as though some wall inside her was breaking. Hesitation lingered on her lashes, but the burdens of her heart had lightened. She smiled softly and said, "If your promise is true, then I, too, will let go of my anger." A smile lit up his lips. In one swift move, he pulled her into his arms. This time, she did not resist. She surrendered herself to him as though her heart had joined with his. In the quiet atmosphere of the room, only the sound of their heartbeats was heard. They had merged into each other's being. On both their lips was one prayer, that this moment, this togetherness and this love may last forever.